Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for September 2022. So on September 22nd, we enter into Libra season. This also triggers the fall equinox. The equinox is when there is equal light to equal darkness, and energetically speaking, it's kind of when we start a brand new cycle with a clean slate, with an even playing field, where the scales that Libra energy represents get balanced. So Libran energy is an air energy. So we're all kind of up in our heads trying to sort things out. There is a huge focus on relationships. And of course, starting with the relationship with ourselves and recognizing that the people that we share our lives with are merely acting as a mirror to what is going on within ourselves. So this Libran energy does typically like to stay in the shallow end, trying to keep things light and fluffy. We don't want to do too much of a deep dive into our mind space, into our psyche. Keep in mind that Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information and communication, is still very much retrograde, meaning that our intellect isn't working as sharply, as intently as we are used to, really having to rely on our intuition to guide us through this particular chapter. We also have to keep in mind that Venus, who rules over Libran energy, is also still in Virgo energy, really showing us where it is we have to analyze the comings and goings of the details of our day-to-day life, our mental plane, our heart space, in order to recognize where things are broken, in order to fix them and return them to a state of wholeness. So we have a lot of planets in a retrograde, no surprise, and this Libra season is going to be a little bit challenging, only because with Libran energy, we're typically highly indecisive anyways. Well, the retrograde planets, Mercury especially being retrograde, is having us do a reflection and a revision back in the past in order to figure out where it is that we want to go moving forward into the future. Because the Libran energy is kind of the mediator, if you will, of the zodiac, we are trying to meet ourselves halfway, balancing the scales in between our heart and our head, balancing the scales between our egoic self, our higher self, and of course, balancing the scales in our personal relationships. We want to meet ourselves halfway. We want to meet others halfway in order for everyone to be happy-go-lucky, to find peace of mind, to find harmony in all that it is that we do. So compromise, cooperation is definitely at the forefront of what it is that we have to rethink and revise and rediscuss under this retrograde energy. And with Libra season kicking off with the intent on finding balance, sometimes we have to explore the extremes of life before that balance is actually found. Of course, we want everyone to just be happy. We want everyone to find peace and harmony within themselves, within the relationships around them, with life itself. Yes, Libran energy definitely focuses on making peace, but that means that we have to make sure that we aren't sacrificing our own selves, our own wants, needs, and desires in order to keep said peace. When we talk about Libran energy, we talk about what is going on the opposite side of the zodiac wheel, which is Aries energy. Aries energy being the very first sign of the zodiac, very concentrated and focused on building our egoic identity, wants to do what is right for us as the individual, following our path, our desires, what it is that we want, what we feel we deserve in life on the individual path. But of course, the Libran energy is not so focused on thyself, focused more on relationships. The problem is there is a lot of people-pleasing energies that come in with Libran energy. And therefore, we have to make sure that we're striking a balance between serving ourselves and serving other people, doing right by ourselves and also doing right with other people. Now, this is going to be very hard to try and figure out, seeing as, it's a very indecisive energy. And with all the retrograde planets, we're really not making much progress moving forward and initiating new things outside of ourselves. Instead, we're in a reflective state, having to look back, piece together the dots that we may have missed in order to kind of gain a little bit more of a broader perspective and understanding on where it is that we need to be, what isn't fair, what wasn't fair, where in our relationships is the power exchange very one-sided. This is where we have to focus our energies on restoration in order for everyone to find a happy medium. So the Libran energy offers us an opportunity to kind of see the side of all situations, which, although sounds like a good thing, can kind of prolong the process of actually coming to a decision. Now, granted, with the equinox energy kind of moving in, we are seeing the closing of chapters. We just had the full moon in Pisces, which was a huge release in karmic contracts, karmic energy, in a lot of emotions, pain, and trauma that were lingering, blocking us from moving forward. Now, with that energy essentially released and surrendered to the universe, now we can figure out where it is that balance needs to be restored in our emotions, in our spiritual lives, in the contracts that we are ending, and where new ones may be beginning. So to come to some kind of, I'm going to say, decision point likely will not happen very early on in Libra season. And seeing that, again, we have all of these retrograde planets, might not really come into manifestation until, I'm going to say, we move into Scorpio season, which is a very intense season. October brings us a lot of astrology, a lot of opportunities to bust out, to bust free, to actually start moving forward. We have a lot of planets that will be coming out of a retrograde, going direct. And that is likely when we're going to see choices, decisions, paths, directions actually be initiated and actually see that movement moving forward. So Libra season, although is great for us to really kind of, I'm going to say, take a time out to find a middle ground, to see, both sides of the coin. We really do have to practice balance in everything that we do, especially making sure that we aren't sacrificing our own wants, needs, and desires to make other people happy, and that we are still keeping into consideration the power exchanges in our relationships. We also, although peace and harmony may be the goal, we don't want to be so superficial with it all that we're actually missing beautiful opportunities for that depth, for that connection, for that intimacy. So we also have to kind of keep in consideration that this Libran energy is very social, right? We all become a little bit more of a chatty Cathy under this particular influence, but because Mercury, again, retrograde, miscommunications and misunderstandings are still very high, very probable. We have to be a little bit more mindful that where it is that we are trying to connect with other people, that we kind of, again, stay in the shallow end of conversation so that we don't hit those triggers and activation points that everybody is feeling because of the hypersensitivity going on in the energy at the present moment. And we just want to try and have light and fluffy conversations and interactions. Now, although we are desperate to find a middle balance, although we are desperate to restore peace and balance and harmony to the areas, especially relationships in our lives that might have gotten out of whack, we want to make sure that we aren't having tunnel vision on one particular relationship or one particular area of our life to restore that balance as we watch other areas of our lives get unstable because of the lack of attention or focus that we may be putting in that particular arena. Partnerships are definitely in the spotlight. Mercury, of course, being retrograde in the Libran energy, dissolves some relationships that maybe weren't for us and definitely gave us an opportunity to clear the air and deepen the connection with the partnerships and relationships that we are supposed to be kind of involved in. But just keep in mind that Libra season comes before Scorpio season, which is a very intense, very intimate energy. And we go from the shallow end to the deepest, darkest point of the deep end of the pool. So in a certain respect, I'm going to say, enjoy your time in this light and fluffy energy, in this shallow end of the pool, in this ability to see both sides of the coin and to come to some kind of decision and choice point about what it is that you want to do in moving forward. Because the intensity that we are all going to be thrown into when we enter into the depths of the emotional pools of Scorpio season, you're going to really kind of wish that everything was as light and fluffy and shallow as it is supposed to be in Libra season. So we also just want to keep in mind that as we near the end of September, we are going to have the new moon in Libra at a 2-degree marker, which is a brand new clean slate for this particular moon cycle, closing out the last 2.5-year cycle in this Libran energy. And it would be to all of our benefits to get very real with what it is that we want, we need, we desire outside of what it is that we think other people want from us. Again, very much the Libran topics and themes for us to really contemplate, for us to initiate. And then, Venus, the ruler of Libran energy, will be taking her throne and stepping into Libran energy just as September comes to an end. So we are going to have a lot of focus on this Libran energy, a lot of focus on where it is that our lives are out of whack and where it is that we need to work a little bit of overtime to try and restore the peace, the balance, and the harmony. Again, not only within us, between our heart and our head, but within our physical realms where relationships are definitely the main focus and the main concern.